Hello and welcome everyone, a new episode of Money Means Business. Today we are going to go together to Riyadh, where Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, on behalf of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, represented Egypt in the Future Investment Conference at the 8th Summit, as he tackled a number of issues. And of course he represented Egypt and he addressed the gathering, not only to speak about the Egyptian experience regarding the economic development, the economic reform, but also about Egypt as a hub for investment. And to attract more foreign direct investment, it's not an easy job, but fortunately, we are on the right track, and we are going to exert the utmost efforts to do so and to continue in the right path to Egypt 2030, to the new republic. But we are going also to take a quick look at the Prime Minister's tour today in Al Harafiyin, or in Duwai'a, as this is also another side of the coin. All this and more right after the short break, and I'm going to be right back.
The Future Investment Initiative, also known as Davis in the Desert, is a global economic event held in the Saudi capital Riyadh and managed by the Public Investment Fund. The first edition was launched on October 24th to 26th, 2017. The second edition was launched on October 23rd to 25th, 2018. Its aim is to help attract billions of dollars in foreign capital as part of reforms aimed at ending Saudi Arabia's dependence on oil exports and achieving the goals of Saudi Vision 2030. The initiative focused primarily and fundamentally on providing a platform for objective dialogue led by more than 170 speakers from more than 20 countries, including Saudi Arabia, the United States, China, Japan, South Korea, Germany, Britain, the United Arab Emirates, and others, to discuss current global investment trends in the long term in more than 10 economic sectors and activities: education, manufacturing services, entertainment, information technology, space, finance and private equity, transportation, and so on, with the main goal being to explore opportunities to achieve sustainable long-term returns with a positive and lasting impact. The Future Investment Initiative in Saudi Arabia discussed a number of important issues, most notably the role of investment in stimulating growth opportunities, enhancing innovation, in addition to facing global challenges, as well as the fields of artificial intelligence, digital transformation, cryptocurrencies, and others. The Future Investment Initiative was distinguished by the presence of artificial intelligence, represented by the presence of robots, Sophia and Pepper, in reference to the future of the city of NEOM, which will host industries of this type. During it, a number of agreements, memoranda of understanding, and partnerships were signed with a number of international entities. Artificial intelligence was one of the popular topics during the discussions. The kingdom seeks to become one of the top 15 countries in the world in the field of artificial intelligence by adopting the technology internally over the next 5 years and then exporting it after 2030. In a speech, the governor of the Saudi Sovereign Fund, Yasser Al-Rumayyan, said that artificial intelligence is capable of adding nearly $20 trillion to the global economy by 2030, and that Saudi Arabia is capable of becoming a global center in the field of artificial intelligence. For his part, billionaire Elon Musk said during a live broadcast remote dialogue that the possibility of things going wrong due to this technology may reach 20%. Meanwhile, Masayoshi Son of SoftBank refuted the idea of an artificial intelligence bubble. Musk expected that human robots would outnumber people by 2040 and said Every country will have artificial intelligence or several types of artificial intelligence, and there will be many robots more than humans.
Welcome back, and as we said, we do have a lot to speak about, but let me first welcome my dear guest live here in the studio, Ambassador Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Good evening to you and to the viewers.
And we are going to start with the tour of today as Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli. As usual in the last period of time, he is keen to have inspection tours, field visits, and this time it took him to El Harafiyin in Edwea, where he met with many of those who really enriched our heritage with their workshops and with the products, I think, not found in any other place in the whole world rather than Egypt. And he asserted that the state paid great attention to various industries during the current phase, particularly industries that are being implemented in El Harafiyin region in Edwea. How do you see the statement, which were statements to be accurate, which were released right after this, and the significance of the visit itself?
When the Prime Minister himself, not a minister, the Prime Minister, according to directives from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, goes to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, this means that we mean business. We are serious about attracting Saudi investors to Egypt, and before that, we created the right environment for the foreign investors, especially the Arab and more specifically the Saudi investors, to come to Egypt. There is
Ambassador Ayoub, you took us to Riyadh. Of course, this is the lion's share of our episode.
Yes.
But it seemed that I didn't express myself right. Today, Prime Minister Madbouli was in El Harafiyin here in Cairo.
this was no, sir. Well, good. That is very good thing.
El Harafiyin in Cairo is a place where the very clever, skilled Egyptian handicrafts expert, they are really doing a great job. And today, the Prime Minister said that they are going to be supported by the state in the best way ever. And there is keenness from the state to boost them to not only to work here or to fulfill the needs of the local market, but to export their products outside.
When the Prime Minister goes to Al Harfiyin and El Duwea, these are hubs for artisans and skilled labor. Skilled labor is a capital, and one of the most and vital capitals which we have and which we export, by the way.
Yeah.
We export them as clever persons, or their products are exported all over the world. So this is a very important visit. Why? Because they feel that the state, the Prime Minister, represented in the Parliament, is visiting them to see for himself what is there, what is needed, and also, which is very important, to listen to them, to see what they need and how to boost the environment and to boost their production and make them feel comfortable and more productive. That is a very important thing for the economy as a whole. El Duwea is another area. Maybe we can say it is relatively poorer than El Harfiyin. El Harfiyin is very clever, and the standard of living and the earning power is the earning capacities of them in El Harfiyin is very high. El Duwea, this is a newly established place which will be rehabilitated, because we need to, will I say,
Raise the standard of living.
Yes.
And I'm going, sir, to share you these ideas regarding the statements which were released by the Prime Minister after the inspection tour.
Yes,
He
please.
inspected the project of establishing a complex of craft workshops and alternative housing, meaning no more slums, no more random areas or unsafe areas. And, you know, people there thought that, oh, they are going to take us from our place, they are going to take our workshops. No. Now they have their workshops, but based on scientific way, well-studied manner of how to move them forward, and nobody is going to lose his workshop or his crafts. How do you see ensuring them that you are safe and secure?
When the skilled labor see the Prime Minister himself is coming to him, to his place, to see where he is living and where he is working, and ensuring to him, the Prime Minister ensures to him that you will have a better place for living, and at the same time your workshop will be taken care of as far as cleanliness, as far as electricity supply, as far as all your needs are supplied by the government. This means that he is giving them impetus to ameliorate and to raise the standard and to make them more positive, and also to have their skills mobilized in the right direction. That is very important, because these people need to find they need the government umbrella. And this, when the Prime Minister goes to الحرفيين or even الدويقة and helps them and listens to them, he listens. Why? He listens and he has assistants. They are registering and recording all what is said by them, not only by the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So that because they work on it as soon as they go to their office back. So it is a very positive approach as far as coping with the needs of the market. I will call it a market in this respect. And also it will reflect on them and on their productivity, not production only, but their productivity they are raising their productivity. And in many cases we find that some of them are very talented. We pick them up. We pick these talented persons. We sometimes create a hub, another hub, a smaller hub for the very talented persons, and giving them all what they need. In this way, we are creating a new front of productivity, front of creation, and front of export
innovation, showing their talent and sense of competitiveness.
It is the competitive is very important.
Yeah, to invade new markets and to make sure that their products are going to be found in very elegant places, because their talent is incomparable.
In many cases, we have exhibition for the talented artisans and workers, exhibition in Cairo. And then when we have participate in international exhibitions, we have a corner or booth or pavilion for the handicrafts, the Egyptian handicrafts.
Yeah.
The people don't look to industrial production or agriculture, but they go first to the artisans and to the handicrafts, because this is something unique to Egypt. And many of them, when we go to Khalil Khalili, for example, and see how they are making fantastic. A person is focusing.
Products of Sinai, of Siwa, of Matruh. I mean, we do have in Kerdasa, for example.
A lot.
We, in the furniture city in Damietta, we do have pieces of art. I don't think that they can be found in any other place in the whole world.
It is unique in many senses. That is why we have to capitalize on it, spread it, and boost it, so that we need them to be export oriented, because the returns or revenues are relatively very high if compared to the local market. In the local market they are competitive, that's very important, but what I always care for is export. Once they export to the other markets, we find that many importers say to them, we want this piece in this way, and they send them the photo, and they make it for them, especially for them, not for anyone else. They don't repeat it.
Yes.
And get a very high revenue according to because of their handmade.
Some more good news today.
Please.
Fitch Rating announced that it has upgraded Egypt's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating from B- to B, with stable outlook. Fitch attributed this upgrade to an increase in international reserves and recovery in the net foreign asset position. Of course, this is great, but we are going to look what is going to take place after. How do you see this move as a new way to encourage more investors to come and building more confidence in the resilience of the Egyptian economy, sir?
Any investor, before he comes to the Egyptian market, looks to Fitch and the Moody's to see what they speak, what do they say about Egypt.
Yeah.
When they say there's a better situation, better environment for B minus to B, this means that you can come, there is safety, secure, and lucrative market, which is very important for any investor. This is one thing. Other thing which is very important is that the government is keen to create an investor-friendly environment for the new investors. When I see new investors, it is Egyptian investor, first of all, Arab investors, and European and foreign investors. So what is happening now by the government and the Prime Minister is creating a more positive environment, and which will attract more investments to the industries which the government give a roadmap for the investor. We need this and this and this 10 or 11 sectors. What is clear for them now, what is needed in this market now.
Yeah.
So when they have the clear roadmap, it encourages them to come with their money and modern technology and transfer technology to the local market, which will be beneficial not only to industry but also the economy as a whole, and it will reflect on the labor market because they attract more labor to their sophisticated industries.
Yeah. Now it's time to go to Riyadh and to the visit of Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli to the Saudi capital to represent Egypt on behalf of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in the session of the 8th Future Investment Initiative conference. But before going into details, sir, if you please, I'd like to focus more on its title. The conference themed Infinite Horizons, Investing Today, Shaping Tomorrow. How do you see this slogan?
It expresses what we are thinking about. It is a philosophy. Investing today and seeing it tomorrow, because investment needs to be initiated. When we initiated it, we need a clear roadmap and also a friendly environment which is clear in every detail, because the investor needs to know labor market, the law, the cost, the availability of material, availability of power, and also the market, how big it is, and if it has accessibility to other foreign markets. Luckily, when the Prime Minister goes there, he has on his back a lot of work which has been done as far as creating new markets for the Egyptian exports. And that is why when the Prime Minister goes there, he goes there with clear vision as to what is needed as far as industry is concerned, innovation is concerned, and also transfer of technology is concerned, and creating an investor-friendly environment for would-be investors, and this will encourage, first of all, the Egyptian investor.
But sir, if you permit me, I'm going to start with what Prime Minister Dr. Madbouli started with, as he was really keen to say that without security and stability in the Middle East, nothing can be achieved on the ground from the economic side, because I cannot separate this from that. And he said it that way. There is clear connection between the economy, investment and growth on one side, and peace, stability and security on the other. And he said that this very fruitful collaboration and coordination all the time between Egypt and its brotherly allies, and of course on top of the list is Saudi Arabia, is really a must, particularly in this very critical period we are all living in, with the Israeli genocide war in Gaza and the move to Lebanon, something which is really a threat to the whole world, to slid the region into a wide-range conflict. How do you see focusing on this, or starting even the speech with this?
Luckily, Egypt, I can say and positively say that Egypt is the most stable I would say not country, I would say market. Why we say that? Because when the investors look to the other countries in North Africa or Middle East and see that Egypt is the very stable and secure, and the government is keen to create and bolster this stability so that it will attract them, because before he thinks what he will do, he looks to what is this stable market. Is he sure what will happen with him? Is he sure about the local laws and regulations, and will he be able to bring his capital in and also take his revenues in dollars overseas? These details are very important for him before he ventures in any industry in Egypt. So when the Prime Minister goes to the investors and speak to them, give them clear idea what we have, and also it is very important that he listen to them, because when he listens to see what is missing or what is needed and how it can be done, because he is not alone, he has his assistants are recording everything. So what is happening now? If Egypt is creating a new status for itself as a good hub for foreign investors in the very near future. That is very important for the Egyptian economy, because we need investors, we need investment, and the local industry needs innovation. That's very important. Why? It is not only export substitution, but also export drive, which are created by the new industries which are created in not only in the valley, but even in the western desert and even in Sinai. When we see the Prime Minister is going and encouraging their foreign investor to come, let us say, to Marsa Matruh, for example, or New Valley, or whatever. You see, this means that
Sir,
he
we
knows.
have an industrial zone in Beni Suef.
Yes, Beni Suef.
I mean, Upper Egypt now is really enjoying this care, as the state said it more than once, that even if Upper Egypt, unfortunately, for decades, in the last, let's say, 40 or 50 years,
Yes.
suffered negligence, now the case is totally different. And in the tours of the Prime Minister or even the President himself, whether in Beni Suef or in many other Upper Egyptian provinces, the case is totally different, and a photo or very few moments in videotape, it's more, I'm not going to say more important, and it can express more than thousands of words. And these are things which we are all witnessing ourselves.
When the Prime Minister and the President is going to Aswan, from Aswan to Cairo, from Aswan to Alexandria, and to Marsa Matruh, the President has been to Marsa Matruh. This means that the government is keen to create the right environment to encourage investors to go to these areas, not only in the valley, but also to the remote areas which were, as you rightly mentioned now, were neglected. When we go to Beni Suef or Elmenia and see new factories.
Yeah, industrial zones.
Yes.
Complexes, I mean industrial complexes.
Which is something we are very happy with.
Returning back to Saudi Arabia,
Yes.
sir, and to speak in more details about what we call the strategic partnership, because this term is very important. And when we know that it's going to be for the best interest of both peoples, meaning Egypt is ready for exchanging expertise, qualified cadres, the human resources. In the same time, Saudi Arabia is now keen to invest more in Egypt and in various domains, in various fields. How do you see the equation, the balance between both?
The balance is a positive balance. Why? Why we say that? Egypt is, or Saudi Arabia has surplus money. We know that. Where will they invest it? In the Western countries to put it in the banks? No. They are wise enough to come to a market, a big market like Egypt, when the government is encouraging them and creating the right environment for them to in certain industries which are badly needed by the Egyptian economy. This is one thing. Other thing is that very important, they are giving some privileges. When a new investment law or regulation, will I say, not law, is promulgated for Saudi investors, This means that they are at advantage, they are taking advantage of the attitude of the government regarding the Saudi, I said Saudi, specifically Saudi investors to come to Egypt instead of going to other countries. This is a wise and articulate approach as far as Saudi investors are concerned, and we are very happy that it is bringing results now. More Saudi investors are coming to Egypt and creating many ventures are being created now in Egypt by Saudi money, and in many cases it is in partnership with Egyptian partners, Egyptian business, which is very important because this encourages the Egyptian investors also to make partnership with the Saudi investors who are coming with a big amounts of money.
And this is a practical implementation of the state's strategy to empower the private sector.
This is the issue, the private sector. When the local investors, when I say local investors, I mean private sector, of course. When local investors are seeing that the government is creating good environment for them and also encouraging other, in this case Saudi investors to come, these are increasing their capacity to satisfy, first of all, the local market and also to have export drives in many countries who are using the Egyptian know-how, Egyptian products and Egyptian artifacts. When I have seen it in Italy, in Germany, when they see the Egyptian handmade products, they want big quantities of it. We don't export big quantities, but small quantities, to keep it all the time at the highest level, at the highest price possible. It is not standardized, it is not mechanic, it is not mass production, but it is all made with the hands. When this happens, this is beneficial to both parties, to the investor and to the Egyptians.
Also, the Prime Minister was keen to highlight the development strategy of Egypt, spotlighting Egypt's 4 strategy pillars, achieving comprehensive development, including empowering the private sector, this is exactly what we have said, diversifying energy sources, becoming a regional energy export hub, and advancing transportation, urban development, and the AI, or artificial intelligence.
Yeah. When these are five important sectors, when we are focusing on these 5 important sectors, this means that the economy will be boosted when artificial intelligence, when we see the private sector, when we see the foreign investors, when diversifying and localizing new industries in Egypt. This all means, all these things mean something very important, that the economy is being boosted by the visits by the Prime Minister and the encouragement of foreign investors to come to the market and they begin work today, not this month or this year.
20 smart cities, meaning that what the Premier was talking about, it's not words, it's deeds. I mean, practically found on the ground.
Yes.
We are not only speaking about dreams which were not realized, no. And let's take also, sir, into consideration that Saudi Arabia itself wanted its economy to move a little bit far from an oil-dependent economy. Of course, oil plays a very important role.
It is.
And when it comes to this, the Gulf, and of course headed by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, they are going to remain dependent at least for a while on oil. But the future, it's not for the oil.
The future, and they know it very well.
This is it. So, do we have things in common because of this?
Yes. What is in common? You know that within 45 years or 40 years, the petrol reserves will be depleted. So they need to invest in the future. Invest their money today in countries like Egypt and other African countries, of course, because this is more lucrative for them, because it creates a new source of income for Saudi Arabia. That is why Saudi Arabian investors, when they come to Egypt for many considerations. One, it is a big market, 110 million consumers. Two, the language, I will not say religion, but language. Language for them, make it easier for them to communicate and to cooperate with the third, the manpower which we have, trained manpower. Fourth, the environment. When the government promulgates a law for Saudi investors, specifically for Saudi investors, this means that we love you, we want you to come and invest in the country, and they are doing this. And there's something, a very positive approach when we focus on a certain country or certain source of finance, whether it is Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates. In both cases, we are inviting the right investors to invest in the right industries in Egypt. That is very clever approach as far as foreign investment is concerned.
And sir, we are building on what we have achieved already. I mean, there was another visit by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli to Riyadh in less than 6 weeks. And just 2 weeks ago, His Excellency Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was here in Egypt for talks with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and of course he met with many of the Saudi businessmen community here in Egypt. And then Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli was in Riyadh to participate in the Future for Investment conference. And in between, you are going to find many visits on the ministerial level to implement what was inked, to implement the deals signed. So it's not only summit talks and that's it. No, what we agree upon is going to be implemented on the spot. And if there is any obstacle on the way, it's going to be eliminated to make it a story of success. How do you see the chronology or the timings or the number even of visits?
When we see this important visit by the high-ranking officials to Egypt and also to Riyadh and Saudi Arabia, this means that the two countries, the two heads of states, I can say in this respect, are keen to create strategic alliance, strategic, practical and pragmatic approach to economy in both countries. It is not only to Egypt or Egyptian economy, by the way, it is also for the Saudi economy. When these high-level dealings and meetings are made, whether in Cairo, in Alexandria, in Bani Suef, or in Riyadh or in Jeddah, this means that we mean business. We are not coming to speak and or hugs and smiles on the television, but rather we are speaking about how best to serve the interests of the two economies, whether Egyptian economy or Saudi economy. And when they come to details, they sit with the technicians, the second row. When they stipulate what is needed now in this area or in this location or in this industry. When we see that the Saudi Arabian investors see that the government is coping with and is listening to them and also is doing what is needed by them, this means that it is not only encourages them but also encourages other investors when they see this approach with the Egyptian government, which is it is a pro-Saudi investors. This is something which is very important for the Egyptian economy and for the Saudi investors who are always looking for a new market for their money. And Egypt is the best market for them. And from Egypt they can go to other markets, by the way, because they can export. We in Egypt have many bilateral and multilateral trade agreements and economic agreements with all the African countries. So Egypt is a hub.
And with other international groups, because we are now both members of the BRICS. And this was another story. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was in Kazan in Russia, and he was of course invited for the very first time as a member of BRICS in the Russian city. And there it was another chance, or it was another opportunity to meet with other investors, other businessmen, and to make sure that all those investors coming from all over the world and coming from all the member states of BRICS, to make sure that Egypt is ready to receive all kinds of investments and all horizons are opened, all gates are there. It's not only to invest in Egypt but also to be their gate to Africa. Egypt is going also to be
Yes.
a hub, logistics, exports, you name it.
BRICS countries, they began as 5. Brazil,
Now
South Africa,
expanding.
Russia, and China, and India. Now it is 26. When we see that 26 countries are listening to what we have of investment opportunities in this big market and also in the other African market, which is very important. And when we show them that we have access to this local, to these African markets, it means for them, it diverts their attention from investing in other parts of the world to come to this hub, or which is Egypt in this case, to invest in Egypt and create new industries for the African market, because African tastes, African preferences are different from European or Asian. So we know about that, and we are well experienced as far as African markets are concerned, because we have
And our relations
Yes.
with all of them are perfect.
very good
Our
relations.
strategic depth.
Yes.
But here, sir, I cannot skip speaking about the current changes and challenges in the same time facing the whole world. Do you think it's time for the BRICS, in specific for the BRICS, because it's the most recent membership of Egypt into an international
Yes.
economic group? Now with the COVID, then Russian-Ukrainian conflict,
Yes.
then Israeli genocide war, global economic crisis, interest rate hikes, inflation, chain supply, food insecurity. How do you see these things, or these crises to be accurate, as the motive for those more than 20 countries or 26 countries, as you've kindly mentioned, to take this into consideration, saying that now it's a must to have our unified currency, to cooperate together, whether on bilateral domain, trilateral domain,
Multilateral.
multilateral, you
Yes.
name it.
Yes.
Is it the lessons we have not learned until the moment, or we have learned the lesson?
We have learned the lesson. That is why. That is very
I
important.
hope so.
We have learned the lesson. Why? That is why we joined. We're very keen. As soon as BRICS was created, Egypt to apply it. It was the 6th country. 5 countries. The charter countries were 5. Egypt was number 6. So Egypt has the foresight and the vision as far what is needed by the Egyptian economy. When we attach ourselves to this new grouping, it's just a grouping, not a bloc yet.
Yeah.
26 countries, they are big countries, by the way.
Sure.
When we speak about China and
India.
China and India, Brazil,
Yeah.
Egypt and South Africa, and many countries in between, and some Asian and African countries, and in Latin America. This means that we are increasing our access to international markets at the one part, and also our access to more investment opportunities for the investors to come to this market and invest in Egypt, which is very important. All the time we are looking to foreign investors
Sure.
and foreign markets. Two
Foreign
things.
currency.
Yeah, and exactly. That
But
is-
with our currency, is it something which is applicable, sir, or it's only a dream?
From economic point of view,
Yeah.
we use our local currency in paying for our imports within a limit. That the limit is what we exported with this currency, because when we export $1 billion, for example, it is, we take it in Egyptian pounds. With this Egyptian pounds, I can buy in Egyptian currency with this $1 billion value. So it is not close. I can import anything with Egyptian pound. No, of course, because they have, how will they get their money back? How they get it in which shape?
Let me put my question in other words, sir.
Yes.
Is it possible to have, for example, of course, before this Russian-Ukrainian conflict,
Yes.
Russia and Ukraine were the biggest sources for for wheat.
Yes.
Can we now import wheat from Russia using our local currencies?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Why? Because Russia is taking this local currency to buy Egyptian products. So,
And vice versa?
yes, vice versa, of course. That is why they take Egyptian currency, because they need, for example, onions or mandarin or oranges or
Whatever.
or especially I meant vegetables and fruit, because something which
Potato.
yes,
Yeah.
and potatoes.
Yeah.
And so the import, Russia, especially Russia, is importing a lot of this from Egypt
Yeah.
traditionally since 1950s.
Yeah.
It was also 50 years more than
Since it
50
was
or
the
60.
Soviet Union.
So they will export to us from Russia or Ukraine or Ukraine wheat, for example. We pay in Egyptian pounds within
A certain limit.
a certain limit.
Let's hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day for all of us, and
Inshallah.
just to wake up to find that the world is free of wars, of conflicts, of struggles, of bloodshed. Let's cross our fingers to see this
Alhamdulillah, we are
not as
stable.
a dream but as reality.
Inshallah.
Well, sir, as usual, I enjoyed our discussion.
Me
Thank you
too.
very much for your input,
Thank
sir.
you.
We were very much delighted to have with us live here in the studio His Excellency Ambassador Ayoub Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial. And by this we come to the end of our episode, but I'm going to leave you with the most important economic events which took place in the past 7 days. Till we meet again same time on Nile TV International in another episode of Money Means Business. Many thanks for watching. This was Nirmeen Abdurrahman.
Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli inspected the headquarters of the Egyptian-German pump company, Rohr Pumpen Egypt, which specializes in the production of pumps. The Prime Minister stressed that the visit to this company comes within the framework of the government's keenness to push work in the sectors producing components of various projects, noting that it is targeted to achieve sales of about 11 million euros by the end of 2024, adding that the company has supplied more than 1,200 pumps to most companies in the gas and oil sector in Egypt, as well as to several countries outside the Arab Republic of Egypt, such as Germany, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, and England. Emirates National Oil Company announced the start of crude oil production from the North Safa field. This event represents the company's first oil discovery in Egypt and an important step in its expansion path in the Egyptian market. Al-Wasl field, North Safa, which was discovered in 2021, is the largest oil discovery in the Gulf of Suez region in the past 2 decades. The oil reserves in the field are estimated at more than 100 million barrels, which enhances Egypt's position on the global energy map. Egypt's Future Authority for Sustainable Development, affiliated with the Ministry of Defense, received Lake Bardawil, located in the Sinai Peninsula, marking the start of the implementation of the Lake Development Project, which aims to increase fish production, which contributes to transforming it into a global fishing center. The Future of Egypt Sustainable Development Agency will work on developing fishing berths in the lake to increase fish production, in addition to developing transportation and trading operations, which will contribute to increasing income for fishermen and workers in the lake. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli announced during the weekly press conference that work will continue to reach Egyptian exports to more than $140 billion by 2030. The state is working to expand tourism investment and establish huge tourist entities and cities. The state aims to increase foreign direct investment. The drug crisis will end in the next few weeks. The cabinet decided to approve granting an agricultural investment company the golden license for its project to establish and operate a factory for sorting, preparing, packaging, roasting, and salting peanuts and snacks, and producing nut pastes, as well as establishing and operating a station for preparing, grading, screening, packaging, and washing carrots and various agricultural products with investment costs approaching 1.4 billion pounds. The company will provide about 4,000 job opportunities and is built on an area of more than 136,000 square meters in the city of 10th of Ramadan. The company aims to export no less than 80% of the production volume. The head of the Engineering Industries Export Council revealed that the council aims to achieve a leap in engineering exports to reach $6 billion during the coming year 2025, noting the success of engineering exports in breaking the $4 billion barrier in 2023, expecting exports to reach $5.25 billion by the end of this year. Sayag stressed setting a target for engineering exports to break the $6 billion barrier in 2025, which is an important goal that we seek to achieve after the entry of new companies and investments. Walid Jamaluddin, chairman of the General Authority for the Suez Canal Economic Zone, witnessed the signing ceremony of a contract for a polyurethane production project on an area of 5,000 square meters with initial investments of 100 million Egyptian pounds and an expected workforce of about 45 workers, as production is expected to start during the first quarter of 2025. With a targeted production capacity of 20,000 tons of polyurethane, adding that the project aims to reach the markets of African countries and Southern European countries. Hassan al-Khatib, Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade, announced that a Japanese company operating in Egypt has pumped about £1 billion to establish a factory for medical solutions in the city of the 10th of Ramadan. Al-Khatib added that the production capacity of the new factory will reach 100 million bottles annually, and the company will rely on using a 50% local component. The product is scheduled to start distributing in the local market in 2026, and the export process to the Gulf countries will also begin during the same period.